Waiting on the live. There we go. YouTube says we're live. Welcome to Worldwide Slot Car Chat on Zoom, number 173. I'm your host, Greg Gaub. The gang's all here. We got Tony and Luff and everybody. Everybody's here. So let's talk slot cars. Does anybody have any show and tell they want to share? If so, raise your virtual hand so I don't miss you. For those who were paying attention last week, this week we're going to choose the winner of the G&S Tire Grinder giveaway. And we'll do that later on. So Dennis has his hand up. Go ahead, Dennis.
All right, guys, see me change over my camera. I just thought I'd start the show and tell with the car that we ran in Germany this weekend, just passed. This was built by Christer Bergström, my Swedish buddy, who is sometimes on the call. Don't see him here today. He did a really nice job. It's modeled after the 917 that Denny Holm ran at Brands Hatch in, I think, 1970 or 71. The race that we were in is one where the concourse points count towards the overall position and at the end of the race. And as great as this car looks, it was not one of the top scoring cars. But I'll talk more about that when we get into the club corner later on. But that's the car on the outside. Underneath is one of the German chassis, this particular one made by a company called No Limits, which is Alexander Ortmann, the son of Michael Ortmann, who used to make the tires, or still does make the tires. This particular one was made specially for us with our names engraved on the bottom, it's a very nice chassis, a lot of brass, very thick brass, 2.5 millimeter thick, and a lot of carbon fiber up the front, and a very interesting body mounting system. That screw head that you can see through the hole in the middle there, that's the one and only screw that holds the whole body onto the chassis. When you take it off, there's all kinds of little pieces inside there that link together and lock together in order to hold the whole thing together and allow a little bit of movement of the chassis sideways. And that triangular piece of brass in the middle actually is part of the body mount system and stays on the body when you take the chassis off. Urethane tires made by Dieter Jens at Jens Scale Racing and polished up to very, very high, very, very fine surfaces. The car had lights all the way around, including some flashes that are in, you can't really see them, in the exhaust pipes to give an exhaust flash at the back. They worked really, really well. I actually joked with him that said we were probably slow because we were pushing too much fuel down the pipes. Because every time you got on the brakes, you got this massive flash of light at the back of the car. So that was the car. So later on today, I'll get hold of, I'll get my photos up and tell you all about the event.
Fantastic looking car, as expected from you and Christer.
Yeah, I had nothing to do with it. Fortunately, it was all him, which means that I don't have to bear any blame for the concourse results. I certainly have to bear some blame for the racing results, though.
There must have been some fantastic looking cars on display.
Oh God, you'll see them. I've got photos.
Okay, all right. Coming. Looking forward to that.
But they were unbelievable. Some of them were unbelievable.
Has anybody got any questions for Dennis before we move on? Moving on, Luff's got his hand up. Go ahead, Luff.
I got some progress pictures, I guess.
Go for it. There we go.
Is it up?
Yep.
This is where I was last Wednesday. And this is during the week, kind of designing as I go. Everything is propped up on cardboard boxes right now. Trying to get the elevations and spacing. And now I've got the whole truck assembled. It measures out to 82 feet. And I'm going to be able to use all the old buildings. So there's a spot for all the village and stuff. So the next step will be paint, I guess, and then maybe you'll get it wired and running. And then they'll start on the scenery.
Are those
can
buildings
replace-
paper? Paper?
Sorry?
Are the buildings paper craft or are they plastic or what?
I'm sorry, I'm having trouble hearing you.
On your building there, those buildings, are those made out of paper? Are those plastic or what are they?
The buildings,
Yeah.
they're made out of all kinds of different stuff. They're all hand built.
Okay.
Some of them are made out of plexiglass and then wrapped in plaster cloth. A lot of them are just styrofoam. There's about 6 different people that built them, so that's why I want to keep using the buildings.
You're gonna replace all the random boxes and shims with the, more permanent legs, I assume, of some sort.
Sorry?
Are you gonna replace all the boxes and things with permanent legs?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of it is permanent now. I just got to do some more bracing.
Yeah.
Yeah. It takes a while to, to make sure every driver station gets the uninterrupted view of the track.
Yeah.
So a bit of juggling going on. Anyway, I'm having fun, but it's taking time.
Yeah, enjoy it.
Yeah, it looks very nice.
That's
What thickness of MDF did you use, Luff?
3/8 or 9mm.
Mhm.
I getting too old to start with 6, the heavier stuff.
Yeah.
I like the flexibility of the 3/8.
Yeah, sure. It just means the slot is a little shallower. That's all.
Yeah, no, it's actually just a hair over a quarter.
Okay.
But yeah, it's amazing when you look at the depth of the slot. It doesn't look like there's any strength left. It doesn't seem to matter.
Oh, that's good.
Ask me how much a sheet is.
How much is a sheet? Luff?
$84.
Ouch.
Yikes.
It took 7 sheets.
Canadian.
Yeah, even so.
Yeah, even so, yeah.
Yeah, $84 worth of sawdust.
Yeah, pretty much sawdust and glue.
Yeah. How do I get out of
$4 a
this?
sheet.
I'll stop you, share.
Okay.
But now, did you take any video of you actually doing the construction? I'm kind of.
I'm just doing it all by myself, so I don't have any video. I'll get some video once the thing's running.
If you need
want to see your work in action.
Sorry?
Luff, Dewan, if you need construction video, I sell Luff's video that he made
Oh, okay.
years and years ago. If you need help learning how to build a wood slot car track.
Yeah, I'm just curious about the process. I'm probably not going to get into it, but yeah.
Once you start, you'd be amazed how easy it is.
Yeah. All right, good stuff. Thanks for sharing, Luff. And Jeremy's got his hand up. Go ahead, Jeremy.
Okay, let me share my screen here. So at the last race we had at my house, the one thing that everybody agreed on is this orange lane here is the hardest part of the track, especially right in here. So because I'm a little OCD sometimes, I decided to tackle it again and try to fix it. If you look on this orange lane, the camber of this kind of dips down, and your cars would kind of, if they slid out, they would bounce along this. And I had different rail systems because Ski Electric, some of the sets I bought had the flat black ones, and then some had the rumble strips. So correcting this part in here, originally I just took out all the rumble strips and put in the flat ones along here, and it just looked stupid. And so then I talked to Garth and I said, hey, I'm going to get you some dimensions. Maybe we can 3D print one of these little rails like this. And so I gave him all the measurements and he said, yeah, I'm going to go to lunch. I'll come back and I'll hit you up. So right at that time, I thought, well, why don't I go look one last time and see if I can find any of these rail strips? Because maybe somebody out there is crazy enough to have done this. And so then I find it. Somebody on this website had these strips, and it made my day. And then Garth's like, hey, look at the name on those strips. And it was a Greg Galb. And I thought, whatever. So this guy beat me to it. He'd already made these. So I'm currently in the process of replacing all of these with a flat strip. And then I'm just going to keep painting them a little different, just so my track looks a little different. So I started fixing all of the orange lane right now so I can get this. So when you slide around here, it won't be so jolting when you hit it. Anyway, again, I thank you, Greg, for those doing that work for us, because for real, I wasn't able to figure out how to bend materials to like 22.5 degrees. And I was gonna have Garth do it and show me how, and you'd already done it. So thank you.
Yeah, and there's still one border insert that I haven't modeled yet because I need the actual border to make sure the tabs are in the right place, because the tabs are not all at the same angle. Some
Which
of them
piece?
shifted over, the little tabs that go into the slots in the border.
Yeah.
So like an R2, a 22.5 degree R2 inner border or outer border, whatever, and a 45 degree one, the tabs are in different spots. Like they're not just a straight line from the center of the circle. So I have to have the border or the curb to measure exactly where the tabs are from the edge of the piece, and then I can do it. But I think it's like the super rare, like half R1 outer or something like that is the one that I don't have.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. So
looking
good.
I continue to paint them, tape
fun.
them. It probably would have been
See you
easier if
later.
I'd have built something to jig over these
just
and
open
then
the store.
spray, but it's working slowly but surely.
Looks great. All right, so it looks like are you done? Sorry.
I was gonna say, send some of your crew guys over here to help me with my track. Here in the background, they can throw a hammer.
Your track looks great.
Jeremy, have you tried using plywood for the barriers or the borders?
Nope, I 3D printed them. Let the machine do all the work. Then I got tons of them now. Hello. So.
Well, I meant doing the complete border because you can get a smoother.
No.
border with
I
it.
3D printed the borders too. Like ones I was missing, I
okay.
just printed them. And that seems to have worked for me so far.
Cool.
We got a track related question that Dennis might be able to answer. Do you know what the paint used on the Cunningham Raceway is? What the track paint is for the surface?
Excuse me. Yeah, it'll be a regular two-part epoxy paint. It's a gloss two-part epoxy paint. It's the same as most of the commercial tracks are painted, because it was built by Gary Goerding, who's a commercial track builder, and he doesn't use anything else.
So they don't just use like a straight latex or something. They go get a two-part
No.
epoxy.
They get
Mix
a
it up.
two-part epoxy. Yep.
I didn't know that.
Commercial Raceway's got to take a bigger beating than our little
Oh,
home
plus,
track
of course, they use glue on most commercial raceways, right?
too, yeah.
And
Yep.
as a result of using glue, you have to have a paint that can stand up to being the surface being cleaned every now and then.
Yeah,
And it gets cleaned with Coleman fuel or with naphtha or something like that, and therefore it has to be like a chemically inert surface, because otherwise it gets all kinds of crap. So that's the answer to that.
So one of the YouTubers was people on the YouTube chat was asking what paint is
Oh.
recommended. So if you're building a track that you're wanting to or planning to use tire traction glue like for commercial 1/24th racing cars, then yeah, you'll want to do the two-part epoxy stuff
Correct.
because of the cleaning issue. If you're just going to 1/32 cars with rubber tires on your own home built track, then the recommendation I always hear is super cheap latex interior house wall paint The cheaper it is, the more latex it has in the mix, and that's gonna give you better grip, and it's gonna paint on real nice on MDF and rubber in real nice with your rubber tires.
Yeah.
Last a good long time, so long as you're not cleaning it with Coleman.
All of
When
the
you get
above.
that, what's the preferred way for home users? Do they use like a matte finish or satin or eggshell, or just doesn't matter? Or
Matte
gloss?
finish is better.
The matte finish.
A
Semi-gloss
matte or
or
a
matte.
satin. Well, it depends on that depends to a point on the look you're looking for, and not too many asphalt or concrete surfaces are shiny in the real world. So.
Yep. All right, so looks like that is done talking about, and Pete put his hand up. Go ahead, Pete.
All right, I posted this on Slot Forum, but I'm currently in the process of doing something about this little beauty here. It's an SRC 97 or 914 that I've had kicking around for a while, and our club recently voted in a vintage GT class, and this just happened to fit the bill. So I had the body kit for a couple of years, and it's going to be the Brumos car from 1971. I have decals from Patos, and chassis is already pretty much ready to go. Whoops. I just shrunk my window. There we go. Now I can see myself again. Anyway, chassis is one of my own. It's kind of a redo of the PCS 32 chassis, except I have a sidewinder rear end, and then there's an adjustable wheelbase front end with adjustable ride height in the front. Just a stock 18K motor, 3-to-1 gear ratio. I've got slotting plus tires or wheels on the back with some Dart urethanes, and then some slotted plastic wheels on the front with just some I don't even know where these are from. I just found them in my takeoffs, and I've sanded them down and put some nail polish on them. These little things run really nice once you set them up on for wood. Really, they just go. So
Yeah, that's great.
the weather here today is a little cooler and damp, so I'm not spraying anymore. I have one more coat of orange to do just to fill in some little creases and gaps, and then I'll do the flat black on the roof and the rocker panels and the bumper covers. So should be a fun little car.
Looks nice. And
Looks nice.
and you that chassis 3D printed?
Yeah, I do the
Okay.
fronts and the backs. Like I said, I when I started into slot cars, I liked the idea of getting a model kit and putting a chassis under it. So I was using the PCS 32 chassis for quite a while. And then when I got my 3D printer, I kind of thought, well, let's see if I can do something about the front ends, because originally the PCS 32 front ends were kind of tricky to set up for ride height, and you didn't really have much of an option. You just drilled it out and put some brass tube through, and you were kind of that was your ride height. So I did the front end first with the adjustable ride height using M2 grub screws, and I do them in two different guideposts to front axle lengths, because some cars you don't have a lot of room in the front. And then I also do different tracks or width, whatever you want to call it, just so you don't have to use a whole bunch of shims or washers on your front axle. And then, like I said, the rear ends typically were inline, so I thought I'm going to make a sidewinder version. So I've done that, and then I've done my own inline S-can drive and end bell drive rear ends as well. So they work pretty well. I've had guys use them. One guy up in Barrie, Ontario, he put a resin NASCAR truck body on one, and he prepped it, and he said he got it going as quick as some of his slotted cars. So they work.
Are you
well.
selling that chassis, or are you sharing it anywhere, or what?
Yeah, I've got a website on Google Sites. I can I'll copy the link into the chat.
Thank you.
And I do a lot of, I do some other things like scenery items and stuff like that. So yeah, have a look around. That's about it for me.
Very cool.
Alrighty, thank you very much for showing that off. And Mike put his hand up. Are you ready, Mike?
Yeah,
Take it away.
mostly a tell. If you remember my adapter situation that I was doing, well, the problem is that Polycar track is really tight and rigid. It doesn't bend like scale X-Rix, which I found out much to my chagrin. So with the adapters, which are 200 millimeters or 20 centimeters long, it's shy of a section of Polycar track, and it's off by 1 5/16 inches to make a decent size. So I'm sort of stuck in the middle now, trying to figure out what I'm going to do with it. My options are make a piece of MDF 1 5/16 with holes for the thing and do copper tape apart it over the top of it, or get somebody to 3D print a piece of track 1 5/16 long. So, Jeremy,
Sorry, I made a little
you doing
progress on.
anything?
Yeah, I made some progress. I got it linked together. I haven't got it fleshed out yet. I just been working on my own projects right now, like fixing my track stuff. So I just haven't had time to get you done.
Yeah, well, this is-
The Johnny's Workshop one that you mentioned earlier, he could easily stretch it out or shrink it down to whatever size you need.
Say that he can't make it any longer than a.
No, he can't print it any longer.
Oh, I see.
Right, so his printer is limited in the size of what he can print, but he could change the model so it's the exact size you need it to be.
Yeah.
Then the trick is finding somebody with a printer big enough to print it.
That could be solved right now, because if you print a really short piece of track that's Polycar on both sides, 1 5/16, which allows enough to get the ends into it, that would solve the problem.
Yeah.
And it would also keep a piece of, what's that?
Did you ask him to do that?
No, I did not. I just thought of it this morning. Anyway, it would also shorten the piece of copper tape that you have to use, which is a wear point, in a lot of stuff. I know a lot of people have good luck with it and stuff, but you're going to have to use copper tape if you're not going to route out the rails or 3D print them. And I understand that thin edge on the inside of the slot on both sides would be difficult to keep intact in a situation like that.
Not if you bevel it.
Yeah, you could bevel it. You could do that, but even so, this way, if I had a piece of track, a short piece of track like that, it would just bingo. That would be it. It would fit right into the layout without any problems.
Basically, what you need is a super thin Polycar gap filler.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd ask John to do that. Johnny's Workshop. Just say, hey, can I do a Polycar to Polycar piece that is this long? And then I'd be able to print it, or Jeremy or whoever can print it, and then you've just got to put it together.
Well, Jeremy, you already did the work for the Polycar track, didn't you? That side of it.
Yeah, I have a Polycar connector that connects.
There you go. So Jeremy can do it.
I have a Scalextric connector, but it's just getting them to come together in a nice way, instead of just going and then hitting.
Yeah, I'll get that link for you, because you want to use assuming you're using like Fusion 360, you want to use the loft command to go from one surface to the other surface.
And it'll smoothly gradient over.
You can even tweak the settings to tell it how smoothly you want it to shift over, or whether it just goes straight or has a soft wiggle in between.
I'll hit you up on
post the link so you can see what it's doing.
Thanks.
Oh, did he put that up for general use, Greg?
I believe he's sharing the files for printing.
Oh, really?
I don't think he's shared like the Fusion file itself, but the model files for people to print. I believe that's his plan,
Huh.
if he hasn't already. But
I didn't realize.
he did explain how he made it happen. I mean, you've
Yeah.
got to design both ends, but to connect each end, you use a special command in the software that basically interpolates the line between one end and the other end.
Sure, but
So
the
that-
way I've got it done right now, all I need is the polycar on both ends. So
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah. So I was just helping Jeremy out with his version of the project.
Right.
But
Right,
for
I
your
get it.
situation, all you need is a really short polycar gap filler, which Jeremy could do because he's got the polycar connectors and it's just a straight piece. So all he's
Right.
got to do is rotate the connector to the other side.
Send
And
me
then-
a message, Michael, and I'll get more
Yeah.
detail on what you need and maybe just print you one.
Okay. Well,
He'd be able to do that.
basically it's polycar on both ends, an inch and
Yeah,
5/16.
You're gonna have to email me and
Yeah, I'll get it.
we'll go through
I'll
it.
do
We're gonna bore the audience.
He's not going to remember anyways.
Yeah, I'm not gonna remember. but-
Didn't Mike want me to do something? What was that?
Come on, I'm the old gold, not you.
A lock.
All right. Are you all done, Mike?
Yeah, I am.
All righty. Anybody else got any show and tell they want to show and or tell?
I have one more show and tell if I can.
Take it away.
I hate to take on too much of the time.
Take it all.
Trying to fill time.
Yeah, it's
Garth will
51.
have to speak more to this. This is, I hope you're seeing, this is one of his guides.
Yep.
Okay. So Garth likes the clip-in style guide, and I can't, Garth, what is this similar to? Is it Scale Auto? I don't remember. Slotting Plus. So,
Scale Auto.
Scale Auto. So
Looks like
he's made a
scale
couple of
auto at
these,
the
and
front
then I
slot inversion at the back.
yeah, it's very similar. And then it's like I said, he likes the clip-in side, and this will fit. I'll show you here in a second after I stop sharing. It fits slotted guides. And then I said, for me, can you make a one with actually I could put a screw in, because I like to be able to screw those in, and so they widen up a little, and I get it to the right exact thickness that I want. And then just for giggles, I said, why don't you throw in like a 0.1 millimeter ring around here, so that's the only place it really rides on. So he got those done, and I have a few versions of his stuff here. I don't have a good picture. Some guides there, and then a guide actually in a slotted chassis. It freely fits. It's a clip-in style. Everything so far so good. This Friday I'm gonna do some racing with it and test it out and see, just make sure it holds up and lasts. But that is my sharing. I don't know why is Garth gone? Maybe he's off the chat.
Jeremy,
That
did you
is-
print those or did Garth have them printed?
I printed them. Garth sends me what he wants to test, and then I've been printing them out and giving him feedback. Like the first couple ones, it was too loose in the shaft, so like it would just kind of like jiggle all over, almost like a Pioneer slot car. And then as he made it wider and wider, I said, okay, right there, stop right there. So like it got to the point where there's barely any slop in it.
What did you print them in?
Soraya Tech Blue.
Oh, so you resin printed them. Nice.
Yeah. If I resin print them, I'm trying to get where I can get the strength to match the FDM printing, but with the accuracy of the resin printer, that's the dream. But we'll see what happens.
And the clip in, the screw in one might be okay, but the clip in, those clips will snap. I don't know if any material, unless you get the capability of printing in nylon, which is, I wouldn't even bother trying to print in nylon. You need a whole thing to do nylon.
Yeah,
Well,
I'm gonna test the clip-in one this weekend. We'll see. We have a race on Friday, fun race.
Yeah, but the Soraya Tech Blue should be fine. It's the FDM version of
oh,
that.
okay.
Okay.
Yeah, so Riot Tech has a little bit of give. I mean, you have to really wrench on it to get it to snap.
Yeah.
I have a question. And maybe Greg can answer this question, or maybe Brian Gipperich. Is it possible to 3D resin print M2 thread female?
I would say resin would be capable of doing that, but I think it would probably be better to go ahead and tap it if you can dig up an M2 tap.
Very easy enough to find.
FDM would not be able to do an M2 thread.
I'm
done
talking about a
M3.
resin printer.
I know. I think resin would be able to do that pretty well.
All right,
The
'cause
next question is why?
Why not tap it?
So
Or just screw the screw in and let it tap itself.
now this goes back to me is that I just wanted to test and see if it was any better, because when I take one of his guides with just a 1.9 millimeter hole, I can't even see it, and then I take the M2 to screw it down with a flat top to hold it in there. I had to thread that through there, and I was just wondering if it was the hole was pre-screwed, if it would just screw in really easily instead. I mean, I think the detail can get down there on a resin printer, but I just wanted to see the difference, because when you start threading it yourself, it widens up on you, you know. And if you're talking with tenths of a millimeter here before it gets too tight and too tacky, I was just curious to see if we can do that.
And with such a small wall, even in a strong resin, if you're trying to tap it, you want to make sure that the screw hole, even if you don't print threads, is big enough that doing a self-tapping screw isn't going to just split the whole shaft anyways.
Right.
You basically want it just slightly smaller than the threads, rather than most situations with a self-tapping situation, you have it almost to the shaft of the screw, but you can't do that with resin print.
Well, the real question is, you know, we did one with threads in Fusion, okay, and then converted it to an SLT, but apparently you can't see the SLT in the model, or you can't see the threads in the model.
So one of the things in Fusion, when you're making threads, there's a checkbox that says model threads. If you don't leave that checked, then basically you're just telling Fusion and any CAD CAM software you're going to use with that to thread that. But if you don't click the model checkbox, it's just going to be a smooth opening.
Oh, okay. See,
If you want the threads to be modeled, you got to click that little checkbox to model the threads, and then
Thanks,
it will
Greg.
be
Thanks, Greg. That's a big
That
help.
helps. Thanks, Greg.
Yeah.
Greg,
Okay.
Greg, you were on that show for Electric Dreams about the slot car chat, but you didn't mention any of your contributions in 3D printing. I thought that's where your biggest contribution is. So
I mean, we had a limited amount of time, and I
right.
just answered Marco's questions.
Well, go next year for part 2.
Or if anybody has anything they want to ask me that they're like, oh my God, what about this that they didn't get from the interview? Just ask me. I'm happy to talk. I love hearing my own voice, right? I made this channel just so I can watch and hear myself talk.
I still think it's one of Marco's best interviews.
I can't disagree.
Somehow I knew you'd say that.
All right, Jeremy, you all done?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, Mr. Weber, you put your hand up. What's up?
Okay, just want to show off a recent acquisition. I've been sort of fascinated by this car for some time. It's a Porsche 936, 1977 or 76, I guess, made by Spirit. So this car was produced about 20 years ago, close to 20 years ago. This model was, and to get an idea, here's a slotted LC2, Lancia LC2 next to it. So I'm going to be playing with this for a bit, and found some interesting things posted online about what people thought and what they did to make them work better. And so we'll be working on that. That's it.
No, they were pretty good cars in the day.
Yeah.
It's also in my to-do box.
Is that what kind of chassis do you got under that one?
It's a stock chassis yet.
Okay, so John, is your chassis like that, or does it have the kind of pod thing going on?
No, it's like that,
Okay.
just like that. I don't have a sharp motor in mine, but
Yeah, I'm sure you can get that running just as well as any other solid chassis car. Probably need to
This one was used, and it came with silicone tires.
Hmm.
So yeah,
Good deal.
I have to fix that. But other than that, it goes halfway decent.
Yeah.
It's got tiny wheels in the front. If you look,
Yeah. They were playing. Porsche was playing around with using 13-inch wheels and 15-inch wheels in the front, and on different cars they fooled around back and forth with that. And these cars went through lots of iterations of the body before they finally settled on the one that they ran. I guess in '77, where Eeks won Le Mans, and Eeks and some other people. But anyway,
yeah. It's interesting. I'm kind of a Porsche file in that regard, and I had heard very little about the 936. And when I got this, before I got this, and then I did a little bit of research afterwards, it's kind of interesting genesis of Porsche, and I think it won twice, if I remember correctly, at Le Mans.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah. Maybe it was 77, 78.
Yeah.
Or 76 and 77. I can't remember. Anyway, the black one ran at Nürburgring. The white, after that, Martini wanted their advertising to really pop, so they requested a white body with the Martini stripes on it. So that's the way they went.
Was that the first iteration of the white Martini?
No, I think there were some 911, like 935s that ran white bodies, and maybe 904 or excuse me 908 threes ran white bodies too.
All right, I got a question from the YouTube chatters asking, and hopefully Dennis knows the answer to this. Can anyone tell me what the two translucent screws are for under the case in the new Avant slot? I don't have one, so I have no idea what they're talking about.
Neither do I right now. So I don't have one of those new Avant slots. So,
if there's two of them, I wonder if it's not like a body part or something.
yeah, or something for axle height adjustment.
Right.
I have no idea. I have not seen that. So,
How
sorry.
large are the screws? How large?
Yeah,
And
they don't.
translucent screws, does that mean they're nylon or? I don't know. Sorry, I haven't seen it, so I have no idea.
It's kind of like that transparent aluminum they use in Star Trek.
Yeah, exactly.
They're glass.
Well, hopefully we'll find out the answer to that before the end of the episode. But Brian put his hand up. Go ahead, Mr. Gipprich. I asked to unmute. Maybe he stepped away, but he put his hand up.
The other day I was watching one of Sasha's videos, and she was talking to this old coot about track systems. I don't know who he was, just some senile old man. And I've been looking to update my scale electrics. 15 years old. You know, it's seen better days. And y'all know I got a great deal on some Revell track a while back, a fair amount of it. And I looked at it, evaluated it, and to be honest with you, I didn't like the track. Very difficult to put together and take apart. And as someone who changes their system pretty frequently, I didn't think it was going to work for me. So I didn't have enough invested in it to really worry too much about it.
Sorry, I was talking to my guy. What was the question?
I don't know. He stopped.
Okay, there we go.
Oh, all right, where did it stop?
What? Oh, gosh darn it. Who's? Okay.
Am I back? Can you hear me?
Hold on. Let me undo something. Is that your? Okay, I guess we're seeing your video.
The track?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's really small for some. Oh, your bandwidth restricted. Okay, so yeah, we see the sport track.
Okay, it's not sport.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. What is that?
I wanted to redo my scale electrics. And you guys know I bought some of the Revell a while back used, and I decided I didn't like the Revell track. It's too hard to put together. take apart, and as someone who changes their track pretty frequently, I need that. And I don't know if you heard me talking about Sasha's video.
Just started.
Oh, okay. DNA.
Yeah, from DNA. I saw her talking to some crazy old man about the different track systems. I forget who he was. I think he was just some random guy off the street, but I decided to go with the Scale Auto system. So that's what you're looking at. This just showed up. I just grabbed a few out of the box real quick. Pretty impressed. I like it. I mean, it's first impressions, very good.
Yeah, it's very nice.
I like the color. It seems to go together and come apart pretty well.
Pretty big though. But if you've got the space, that doesn't really matter, does it?
Well, what I did is I got an 8x16 foot table, and I went into Ultimate Racer. They have their track in their library. And my initial thing is going to do is I'm going to recreate my current track as close as possible, which I'm able to do. So I figured if I'm going to compare, might as well compare apples to apples. I mean,
yeah,
slight variances, but the basic layout and the curves will be pretty much the same.
Mm-hmm.
So I never liked the way Scale Electric's track handled elevations, especially if you're using pylons, being so soft and flimsy. So I'm hoping this will be a little bit better. And very pleased. Only thing, I didn't order the borders until today. You can see here it is. This was ordered through Professor Motor.
Wow.
And hats off to him. The way Scale Auto does this is really kind of odd in that right now, their tracks are available in either packs of 4, or like if you go to Pendles or Crick Crack, you can buy it like packs of 25 or 50.
Mm-hmm.
So Brian, I guess you have a surplus of Revell track. I wonder if anyone would be interested in it. Just wondering.
But the borders are 22.5. So it takes 2 borders for each 45 on an R1 or on an R2 and an R3.
Yeah.
So, and you can only buy a full set of 4, which would be a full 180-degree turn, which takes 8 borders to completely border. They sell their borders in packs of 6. So you got to buy, I got to buy 12 borders to get the 8 I need. They're relatively reasonable, so we'll see from there. But
like hot dogs and hot dog buns.
Yeah.
Or like
trees
Ferrero.
right now in the Straits. But they called me back and said, hey, listen, if you're not real concerned about the retail packaging, I've got this track in bulk. Says probably not all of it, but I've got a lot of this in bulk.
Oh dear.
Got a lot of it in bulk. Okay, cool. Okay,
Yeah.
you got a good deal on that.
Yeah, well, he saved me about $150. It was a $900 order.
Nice.
It was $900 worth of track. And then I think when he finalized, it was around $750, which is going to about pay for all the borders that I ordered for.
Nice.
So
That's cool.
real
So
happy with that.
So you're going to have a massive stash of Scalextric, a massive stash of Revell, and a pretty big stash of Scale Auto.
Yeah. Yeah, so if you know anyone who wants some Revell track, so just for point of reference here, let's see.
That's what I said earlier. I wonder who here would be interested. I don't know.
I think Dewan's already got his track built though, doesn't he?
I was going to say, I don't
That's
think
about 4,000 plus pieces.
Yeah. I think
Oh
he's
my
good.
God.
Scaly piece.
Oh, yeah, you're
It's yeah, there's a big difference in size. It's going to be interesting to see once Brian's got it all done, how it performs, because I haven't heard of anybody that's raced on a Scale Auto surface yet.
I think I mentioned it was like on Slot Forum, somebody was talking about the different tracks, and I said that I thought because of the texture on Scale Auto that it would be similar to Polycar, but somebody who said that they've tried both said that the Scale Auto is a lot slipperier than the Polycar.
Yeah, I would think so from comparing the two.
But it's about, it's just as much about tires as anything else. So
It's somewhere in between Polycar and Carrera, I would say.
it's still got to be better than my 15-year-old scale electric track on painted.
Yeah, sure.
And the only thing about the polycar, because I thought about polycar, I cannot get past the looks of it.
Mhm.
Just
Yeah.
the texture of it. Just
And how the texture stops before it gets to the edge. It doesn't go all the way to the edge. So you basically got a
But,
frame texture on every piece.
I talked to Oliver for a little bit when I called him back. I had some questions for him, and we talked about this guy named Garth. He said, "Man, what a pain in the ass he is." But he says, but an interesting thing, one thing he let out, I don't know if you guys know, but Professor Motor, I guess, owns a lot of the old Revell molds. And his initial plan is to redo the Mustang Fastback as a Trans Am car and offer it. So, and I think they were looking at maybe using some of Garth's wheels.
Cool.
That'd be cool.
That would be cool.
Yep. All right. Well, that's all I got.
All righty.
I'll have a layout for you to see next week.
Cool beans. All right. Anybody else got any show and tell? Chris, I saw you pop in. Do you got anything you want to show and tell?
No, I forgot well, I do, but I forgot my picture. So next time.
Not a problem. Yeah, in Porsche 935 turbo news, I sent another email to Iceman to check on his progress, making sure that he was comfortable saying that he can't do it if he felt the need to say he can't do it. I have not yet gotten a response from him, but assuming that I either get a response that says, you know what, thanks, Greg, I'm going to have to pass, or he doesn't respond at all. Does anybody have any suggestions of who I should contact next to do those custom decals? Like, does any of the decal places take orders for a whole new set of decals that a dozen people in the world will want?
Well, don't forget, we've got a starting point, as I sent to John, with the scan of the decal sheet that Leo gave us. That's close.
Yeah.
So we're not
But
starting from ground zero. Which
we're
is
not
good.
starting from scratch, but I don't think we want to necessarily just scale those. Were they 132nd or 124th?
They were already scaled 132nd. Yeah. No,
Okay.
they were, yeah. In fact, Leo used them for his car.
Yeah. They looked okay on Leo's car. I mean, if that's, I don't remember. I'll have to look up the pictures of that to check for accuracy or whatever. But I don't know. Maybe if it's good enough, we can just send Chris a few sheets of that for having to manipulate.
Yeah, we'll just have to get someone to print them though.
Yeah.
Daniel at IndyCals does a couple of Porsche 935 decal sheets, I believe. So I'm not sure if it's exactly the same body configuration, and who knows.
But maybe if I sent him the reference photos and the scan of the original, that he might be able to.
I suspect, in asking him various things over the years, I suspect his answer will be no.
What do you think? Is he in the States?
Yeah. He has his decal sheets that he gets from kits originally and rescans them and does that. I'm not sure if he's great at creating stuff from scratch and stuff. But I may be wrong, but I know a few people.
Chris, considering the scan that we have, you may not have to create very much. We may just need a couple of prints of that scan.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I'll get a hold of him. Is he in the States?
Daniel, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Just look up IndyCals, yeah, for sure.
Okay, I'll look that up and touch base with him and see what he can do and what he needs and that.
I just looked it up, and it looks to me like he has that same 935, the 1976 number 4 Jackie X car.
Yeah.
You pop a link in there?
Sure. Somebody said Control C, Control V is the way to do that, right?
Yeah. Dennis, is it 1/32 scale?
I didn't look,
He does all different.
He'll
scales.
do
but I
them
think
in.
he'll print
he'll
them
do-
in any scale.
Yeah, he'll print them in any size you want.
Even so, I mean, it might be a scan of the 130.
Yeah, 1/32 scale, $8, he says.
Yeah.
I put the link in the chat. If you want to see it, I can just share the screen.
Yeah, go
Wouldn't
ahead.
it be something? Wouldn't it be something if that's where Leo originally got the decal sheet from?
It might very well be.
Uh,
That's the right car.
Yeah, that's it.
I don't.
And the indicals are really nice.
Oh yeah, I use them. I use those a lot. I'm not sure if that. Yeah, okay. I'm not sure if that's exactly the same as the body that I have, though. Unfortunately.
It looks.
Yeah, that's it, Chris. Why would you think it would be anything different?
It's
Well,
got the right fenders,
I
but
think
the-
yours is a little more rounded on the rear end.
Yeah.
No, I think that's.
I think
think it'll
yours is a
work. I
little
think it'll
more
work.
rounded on the rear end, because I've actually looked at these several times and looked at the body, and
Yeah, I think the back of the fender doesn't have the same.
Well, listen, for $8, I'll
Yeah.
kick in too. It's worth a shot.
Oh no, I'll buy them and send them over to Chris. I don't need you guys wasting any more money and time on that.
hang on.
Now you tell us, huh? Now you tell us.
Trying. I've been trying to be. It's hard to tell because
It'll work. I'm sure it'll
I
work.
would have thought it'll work close
Yeah.
enough anyway.
I think I
Well,
know where
it's-
Chris is talking about though.
It's okay for you guys who are actually not putting the decals on.
Nothing
What-
is impossible to that man who does not have to do it himself.
That's true.
Correct.
That's true.
That's what they said about putting the
Don,
back
is that
on
your
the
body?
front.
That's John's
What's that?
body. Yeah.
Well, it's a body that John made. John's body
Yeah.
is quite.
Do I have one of
Yeah,
those waiting
mine's,
for me, John?
mine's a little wrinklier. That's true.
If
Yeah.
you do order those decals, you could always scan them in and then manipulate if you need it more round or something. Somebody with Photoshop skills can do that. But
Well,
that'll
I
give
guess
you a good base to
that's what we're
start.
talking about is someone with the skill to manipulate the scan in
You
order
just
to.
need a bigger bottle of decal set. That's all.
There you go. All
The
right.
heaviest with chemicals works with decals as well as other things.
I told Iceman that I'd give him a few days to respond, and then if I get no response, then I'll assume that he's got other things to worry about. At that point, whether either I get a response and know what the decision is, or I don't get a response and I move forward with the IndyCals. In which case, I'll order the IndyCals, ship them to Chris, and if he can work magic, then he can work magic. If not, then we'll try to find somebody who can manipulate
Work magic.
How
Or we
deep
could
are you
paint it
into
yellow.
this project?
Or we could paint it
Paint it
yellow.
yellow. Paint it yellow and blue. Yep, so you can do that.
We could always paint it yellow and blue.
Yeah.
How deep are we
If
into this
it-
project on timeline?
If
I mean,
you-
Well, it's only
Like,
taken years. What's the big deal?
if you do get them through Daniel, Greg, get a couple of sets, because I may have to cut and paste and
For sure. Yeah, at least two, maybe three or four.
no, a couple. I'll be fine. I've done it once or twice, so.
Okay. Well, we'll figure that out in the next few days. So moving on, Mike, you put your hand back up. Is that for Club Corner? Or you got some more show and tell or question?
No, I got some more show and tell, actually. Actually, a question for Chris. You guys have seen this car before? The FW07 SCX?
Yeah.
Anyway, I put a polycar chassis on the bottom of it. And I needed an adjustable front end because it's really floppy. Anyway, the front suspension that's in there is terrible. And I was hoping that Chris would be able to show me some of his F1 front suspensions out of brass that I could adapt to this and see if I could, make a more solid suspension on it. Right now, it's within 4/10 of my Polycar, I think it's 126C Ferrari, and I think maybe the front end is the culprit here. So if Chris has got some pictures of that front end, I'd like to see them and how he made them, because I know he makes nice brass front ends for his Formula cars.
It's just if it was me, I would be likely just to hog out the front bushing area and just install a styrene tube in there.
It's so flimsy, man.
Okay.
You can bend the lower control arms up and down all over the place. It's basically just a fork that the axle is set into, and it really just has it needs to be much more solid than that. There's so much movement, it's really pathetic. So what I'm thinking is to put a piece of brass tube with bent 90-degree ends and then drill a hole in the bushing there, and then make a upper control arm that looks similar and put it on there at this point. So,
well,
I was hoping that you had some pictures that I could see.
Well, this probably won't help you out a whole bunch, but.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah, I can see doing that fairly easily.
Yeah. Now, underneath here, there is a brass tube.
Yeah.
But I don't like the look of a brass tube, so I just get some sheet aluminum and just cut this piece, which looks like the top suspension arms.
Yeah.
What else do we have here? Let's see. Anything else? Anything else? I think this is the same thing, just to. Yeah, so this is the brass tube that I paint black to just hide it. The brass tube is soldered onto two 90-degree pieces of wire that come off of the guide tongue area. And then I just cut the piece of aluminum to sit on the top there.
Okay. That doesn't give you any adjustability, though. You have to set it and leave it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
If you're going to bugger around with the whole thing, I would really try a piece of styrene tubing first. See how you do with that. Then you can adjust, you can use your grub screws to adjust the brass tubing, ride height, or the styrene tube. And then once you've got it where you want it, then you can glue the whole styrene tube in, which will add a lot of rigidity to the front end.
That's a good point. I could try that. Yeah.
Yeah. And if I mean, that's simple. That costs you like 50 cents for a piece of styrene tube and a bit of glue. If it doesn't work, just hack the whole thing off and away you go.
Okay. All right. Good thing. I'll give it a shot and see what happens.
All righty. Looking forward to the update on that. Anything else before we move on to Club Corner? All right, let's move on to Club Corner. Anybody got any past, present, or future racing they want to talk about? I know Dennis has some things he wants to talk about. I imagine Krister will have some input on that as well. But if you want to talk club stuff, put up your virtual hand. And I think Dennis froze. No, he's still there talking to somebody else. Okay. Mike, do you want to do any Club Corner?
Yeah, no, really. I had a dismal week. We had 3 races and I got 2 seconds and a third. So I'm really like, oh man. So, I got beat because I was falling off too much. It was, I think I really have to not keep going for lap times when I practice beforehand, because I'll put like 300 laps on and I'm going for the fastest lap all the time because I want to equalize the cars.
Yeah.
I gotta stop that.
Yep.
I just make sure they run and just stay on the track.
Yep. Speaking of staying on the track and running, on Monday we raced at Rogers, which is a plastic track for our Mosler series, and the newest guy to the club had been racing 124th cars several years ago. So he's got skill, but his know-how didn't translate directly to 132nd cars. So he went to true his NSR tires on his Huddy, but he's used to foamies that are glued on from the factory, and he just slapped those on his Huddy and made them go, not knowing that they weren't already glued onto the rims, and that you don't want to go so fast with rubber tires as you can with foam tires. So yeah, his tires were not good. He trued them down to rubber bands, and they were all chewed up and not glued. So his car just ran like absolute garbage. He was very, very frustrated, but he's learning. He'll get there. I'm gonna do his tires for next week, so because he still has to get a power supply that goes lower than 12 volts or whatever he was running it at before. But yeah, he's a great driver. So it's really just a matter of getting shifting his knowledge base over to 132nd stuff from the 124th stuff. But yeah, he was not a happy camper the other night. He basically checked out halfway through the race. He's like, no, I'm done. He kept racing though. He's a good sport. He put his laps in and made it to the end. He did not DNF himself. But yeah, I'll make sure his cars run nice and smooth for next week. That's about all I feel like talking about from Monday. Mike, am I going to put your hand down?
No, that's all right. I've actually got a follow-up.
Okay.
Not from the club corner, but you remember these brackets that I told you about last week?
Oh
well,
yeah.
Now that I bought a whole bunch of them, Polycar makes them.
Yeah. I saw the announcement.
It's like, oh man.
Well, those will still work though, right?
Yeah, they still work.
Yeah.
Still work.
Yeah. Polycars are slightly different. I'm not sure. They were kind of
they fit in a little differently.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit easier to do that.
I wonder if they're a little cheaper because Scale Auto's sure proud of those little buggers, aren't they?
Yeah, they are.
I mean, people have been making them for Carrera for quite a while too. I'm pretty sure the ones that I've seen for Scale Auto have been being made for Carrera for a while. So I don't think Scale Auto invented that particular thing.
How do they fit in there?
What was that?
I've seen those clips, but I don't know how they fit on the piece of track.
They go right into the inside of the rail, because underneath the track there are spots where there's no plastic, but the rail. So you just slip
it just pulls it together then.
It's sprung.
It's sprung. So it's a spring steel. So you just stuff it in there and it presses against the plastic and then the underside of the rail. So it's always making a good contact with the rail. And then you solder it to that thing.
Okay.
Or is it brass? I know that the Polycar ones are bronze.
Yeah. So easy solder and good contact.
Easy solder and good contact. Yep. Anywho, I think we need to hear about Dennis and Krista's adventures in wherever they were. Go ahead, Dennis.
Yeah, I see that Krista is on. So hello, Krista. A long time no see. All right, so let me share a screen and see if I've got this going. No, I better not share right now. Just find the right. There we go. Coming up. We'll start. Come on. Share screen. Hang on. Sorry, guys, I'm struggling. There we go. We'll start here, which is just an overview of the track. So we are at a facility called the Northland Racing Center in a little town called Neumünster, which is about 50 kilometers so about 30 miles north of Hamburg in the north end of Germany. And we were there for what they call the 5-liter summer night race. And this is a race for replicas of the 5-liter cars that were run between in 1970 and 71 in the World Sports Car Championships. So primarily Ferrari 512s of all shapes and sizes and lengths, and Porsche 917s of all shapes and sizes and lengths. The track itself is a 5-lane track, which is different. It's about, and I don't recall the exact distance, but in feet, 100 and something. A very nice circuit with at the far end, you can see the from the driver's stand, you would be driving left to right and up the main straightaway, and then past where that fellow with the red shirt is standing. There's a set of S's, and it brings it around across the top of the bridge here, and then down through this banana straight to a pretty tight turn at the bottom of the hill, back underneath and back to the start. A nice track to drive. Some interesting things. There we go. This is from the other end. Some interesting things about it. Number one, it's a high gloss surface. They do actually put a little bit of glue down on the track, mostly just in the braking zones for the turns, so that even though they're using urethane tires, there is a little bit of added traction provided. And they run on 10.5 volts, which is a lot less than most of us are used to. And so the 180 gram cars that we're running on 10.5 volts with a, hang on, let me not go quite that quickly. So I'll get there in a minute. The 10.5 volts with 180 gram car and what is essentially a Fox 10 motor. The performance of the car is very different to what we are normally used to with 1/32 scale cars. They have a reasonable top speed, but they take quite a while to get there. And they take quite a while to get back down to cornering speed. So the cars are, initially they feel sluggish, but after a while you get used to that. But so it's a very slow acceleration. But that means that you have to keep your momentum up all the time. So the cars are made to handle being able to come barreling into a turn at whatever their almost terminal velocity is and actually stay in the track. And it becomes an interesting challenge to keep your car in the slot. I'll talk a little bit about what happens when you deslot a little later on. I'm just going to go through these. My teammate Krista and I started the day with Electric Dreams t-shirts, and then we wandered around this is on the Friday, the practice day. The whole clubhouse is full of cars on display. All of them, everyone prettier than the last, big display cabinets full of cars, all of them from either plastic kit or glass fiber or whatever, manufactured bodies, beautifully painted, beautifully detailed, just absolutely amazing stuff all around. Some that belong to the man who runs the club. His name is Matthias Park. He makes a lot of these bodies. This is his little store or shop area where he has a lot of his stuff on display. And there he is. That's Matthias, looking at all the stuff. Up here, he had a new body that he's just been making, which is a Barracuda, Plymouth Barracuda, 70 Barracuda, and beautifully made, lots of lovely detail on it, but the roof is about as flexible as the full-size car was. You remember all those problems of the or those stories in the day of these guys acid dipping the bodies and then having to put the vinyl roof on it to stop it from collapsing. Well, tell you, these things are done almost the same way. Very, very light, but pretty strong. So, but everywhere you go in the place, there are these little glass cabinets with cars in them. Beautiful cars everywhere. So this was the two of us. Okay, the track in the background. Some of the participants. The clubhouse section is very nice because it has this track in the one part and a big area here to the right of this picture where all the pit areas are, and then a separate room. I don't know if I have a photograph of that. A separate room where there's a 6-lane Carrera track. Lots and lots of beautiful scenery, very nicely done. Hundreds of people all painted. Camping sites, cars in there. To see it under lights in the evenings is amazing. All the lights around there. And then I started walking through the pits, looking at different people's cars.
Wow.
I just want to stop it there.
Did Matthias have any of his clear plastic bodies there?
I didn't see any.
Oh, he's done some unbelievable work on clear bodies over the years.
Okay. I just want to stop it here because these guys are the Austrian guys from A&E Slot Racing, and they make a bunch of light kits. And this particular little Alpha that was standing there is one of the BRM Group 2 Alphas. And you've never seen lights like that thing has got. It's absolutely amazing. Regular headlights that can flash. There's little side lamps, front and rear, that will flash like hazard flashes. When the hazard flashes flash, there's a little green light on the dashboard on the inside of the car that flashes. The instrument panel lights light up when the lights are on. It has, I think this one had exhaust flashing lights, an exhaust flasher as well. And on the side where the numbers are, little 3D printed lamp holders with LEDs inside them that shine on the numbers on the side of the car. Absolutely amazing stuff. They play with this all the time. All right, let's get on to one of the others because this is one of our cars this is a car that we used for our practice. Another practice car, that's our race car. This is Krista's box, and now I'm walking along the next side of this, looking at all the different chassis and all the different cars. Nice. There were actually two of those Gunston 917s.
Sorry, Dennis, I had a question. Did they have control over those flashers, over the lights in their car before, or is it strictly just randomly?
Some of it they have control over with a magnetic switch on the side of the car. Other pieces are just like the hazard flashes. They flash when the car stops somewhere and it's not getting power to the car. The exhaust flames flash when you're on brakes, things like that.
Go.
I was gonna say there was no flashing headlights when they're passing you, right?
No, not. It's not controlled off of their controller. No.
Yeah. Okay.
Most of the tires are Ortmans, Dennis?
The tires are urethanes. Some are made by Ortman, some are made by DT Jens.
Okay.
They're different.
Yeah.
This is us, Krista, working on our cars. This is an interesting thing, which is on a lot of the hoodies that were there, is this modification that's made so that you can adjust the axle carrier to grind a taper onto the rear wheels. They grind a taper so that the tire is smaller on the outside edge than on the inside edge, so that as the car goes through the turn and it rolls a little bit or it leans a little bit with all the suspended front end that they have, the whole back of the car leans a little, and that gives you then a bigger contact patch on the outside wheel than the inside wheel, and allows the car to get around the tight, particularly the tight turns, quicker. And then the guys all have aluminum jig wheels to put on there to graduate the amount of taper that they have, all the way from like 1/4 of a degree up to 1 degree, in 1/4 degree increments. And sizes, they work a lot on their different sizes. Okay, so these are just a bunch of other cars. This is a little video of some of the practice. Krista was up there practicing with our car.
They move plenty quick to me.
Yeah, it's different when you're standing up there and you've got like a 8 meter straight in front of you, and you're watching the car go down there thinking, oh, come on. The other interesting thing is that you can see here is that although let's just get this back to where this, here. The lanes go yellow, blue, white, red, green, but the positions on the driver's stand are not in that order.
Yeah.
The positions on the driver's stand go according to the lane change sequence. So you actually stand next to or between the same people all the time, because you just move from the left-hand side of the stand down to the right-hand side of the stand and off. And there's no swapping back and forward on the driver's stand, even though the cars are swapping across each other. It takes a little bit of getting used to. I know Alan Smith does that on his tracks in Tacoma as well. The most difficult thing to get used to is a guy comes off on white, which is the center lane. You pick the car up and you instinctively look at the center of the driver's panel to see he's not there. He's somewhere else, because he is maybe 2 lanes up on that, right? So because of the way that they move across that. But that was another interesting point that happened there. This was one of Alexander Ortman's cars that had been done with little extra details of weathering and so on. They didn't use this car eventually. They used a different one. This was part of the concourse judging, which both Krista and I raised our eyebrows a little at the end of. They have a big score sheet that you can score them. You can score 20 points on concourse. We scored 17, but most of the other teams scored a full 20. So we were like 3 points out on that, and that made quite a big difference at the end of the race. So here's our car. All the official photographs that were taken. Oh, that one. This is little bit of a. Oh, sorry. Let me just go back one. This is a little bit of video that I took to show you the exhaust flash that came out at the back.
Okay.
Let's just go that once more. There you go. And a little bit of a kick through there. It's the tightest turn on the track, and the car actually went through there very, very well. So these are the full number of 19 cars for the race, and in recognition of the fact that I'd traveled so far, they put a little American flag on all of the toothpicks. The toothpicks were given, one to each competitor, one to each driver, and you then went and voted for what you thought was best of show. That was the not so much the concourse judging, because that was very technical and very involved with the level of detail, the type of detail, the quality of the paint, all of those sort of things. And this was voting by the people for best of show, the best overall impression. It finally went to the long-tail Ferrari in the center. No, on the right-hand side of this picture, the number 11 car. Very, very pretty. a lot of the guys, let me just turn the sound off. A lot of the guys had extra cars standing at their pits, and this particular guy had a car standing at his pits on a little rotating display, and he had one of those little fans that has the that has the lasers in it. So everybody had something something going on that was fun. There we go. That was the car, the best of show entry that won it eventually. Beautifully done, beautiful car. I sometimes think that these models look a whole lot better than the full size car ever did, because the level of gloss on the paint and the lack of imperfections in the clear coats and things like that is something that I don't know that any of the guys get to. This is just the lineup of all the cars that long-tail Martini Porsche was the winning car. These are all the cars. One of the Gunston 917s, other 917. There were only 5 Ferraris and 14 Porsches. So I guess being a German race, that was to be expected.
Dennis, these are true model racing cars. They really
They
are.
are true model racing cars. Yeah, absolutely. They are indeed. So this was Christer busy with our qualifying. We thought, oh yeah, you get, I thought, oh well, we'll get a minute to qualify. No, you get 3 laps. That's it, 3 laps. So your first lap's the Saito lap. Your second lap is go for it. Your third lap is go for it even harder if you can. And that's it, nothing more. We qualified 13th, but the middle of the field, the midfield people were unbelievably close in terms of results. I think you can probably see it here that we were 7:1:58, and the 10th place guy was 7:1:00, right? So we were kind of in that. The top guys were down in the 6/8s, and anyway, so this is when we started, right at the beginning of the race, I think, or this was one of them. This is when the lights went on the track, and all the little pieces of scenery around the edge have lights as well. The hot dog stand has lights in it. This is a little video because in the near the biker stand and the campsite, there were these drums that have flickering campfires and bonfires inside them. Then this is now the driving on the track. I turned the sound off so you guys can hear me and hear others. This is right at the end of the race, the last 5. There are times when there was an open lane, and I wondered why is there an open lane on the driver's stand when there are 5 cars on the track? And the answer is we had one guy in a wheelchair, and they had made a special stand for him up at this end of the track where I was standing when that photograph was taken. And so every time he needed to drive, the guys would lift his wheelchair up onto this little podium, and he had his controller there with a long cable that went, and somebody hooked it up for him on that particular lane. So that was really, really good. Very, very nice fella. But then all of them were really nice fellas. A great bunch of people. All right, that's in turn. Oh, this is just Sunday lunch in downtown Neumünster. Very good pizza and a really nice little town. And I think that's probably, oh, yeah, okay. We have to have a picture of food, right?
Yes. Absolutely, that's awesome.
Sunday dinner at the hotel. They had these really nice rub steaks with some of the best fries I've had in a long time, and a good little salad, and not terribly expensive. All right,
So, what was
that's
the
me.
format of the race?
I don't know if Krista wants to make any comments, but we had a great time. On pure racing laps, we came in 17th out of the 19. Krista was a good 10 laps or so per round. Oh, the way that the race happened. Each driver, there were 2 drivers per team. Each driver drove 1 round of racing in the day and 1 round of racing under lights. So I ran the first round, which was 5 minutes per lane. So I ran 25 minutes, one after the other. And then we started again, and then Krista ran 25 minutes, one after the other, in a second round. So in the very first round, you ran in groups according to your qualifying positions. So we ran in the second to last group. And then once the first rounds were done, in the next round, we ran according, like my round was done. Then we ran in the next round according to the totals of that round, of the first round. So Krista ran his round in the bottom group because I didn't manage to stay in the second to bottom group. He ran, as I say, about 10 laps per round, so about 2 laps per lane, more than I could manage at the time. When you come out on that track, if you happen to de-slot, the power is cut immediately. Somebody shouts, the power is cut. The car that came out is picked up and moved back to the beginning of the corner in which you came out. Or there were little red dots on the track surface where your car had to go back to. And your car was put down there, and the software of the control software was told which lane you were on. When the power came back on, everybody's power came on except yours for 3 seconds. So you get apart from the distance that you lose moving back to be back on the straightaway, you lost 3 seconds for every off. You learn very, very quickly not to come off in those races. In my first round, I came off, I think, 3 times overall, and I had 1 stint where I was, maybe it was 4 because I had only one stint where I was completely free of an off. Krista was a bit better than that on most of the lanes. He had more experience, even though I put in as much practice time as I could. And I was actually 4 laps off, I think 4 laps faster under lights than I was in the daytime. And
Yes.
a lot of the reason for that was that I found it easier to watch my car on some of the lanes, where in the daytime it was disappearing behind the scenery. At night, at least, you could still see the lights through the trees. All right, I think that's about all I have to say. Next, Krista wants to say something.
Oh, it was a lovely race. I liked it very much, and you appreciate that you came over and raced with me.
Oh, thank you.
And maybe some more time. We see.
Yeah, we'll see.
We have a new Ferrari that is coming for next year. Cut out, it's going to weigh 8 grams.
Wow. Yeah, we struggled a little bit there. I think that the minimum weight's 180. We were about 10 or 12 grams over that.
9.
9?
I think.
Oh.
9 or 10. Yeah.
But it was fun, and the car's handling was amazing, and we got the tuning. We did a lot of testing on the Friday, and we tried different compounds of rear tire, different hardnesses, different compounds of front tires. We tried 3 or 4 different motors, and we got better and better and better as we went along. And so I think we extracted I extracted maybe 90% of the performance out of the car, and Krista probably got 95 or 98% of the performance out of the car. But yeah, it was fun. The people make the event, right? They were super fun to be with. it took me a little bit of time because, you know, everything's in German and then has to be translated for me because I don't speak much German. I don't
Same
speak
here.
any German. I joked with everybody. By the time I was done at the end of the weekend, I could say 7 words in German. The 5 words for the names of the lane, and then the word for please and the word for thank you. Right. So that was me. I could, you know, Gelb and Rot and Grün and Weiß and Blau, and then
Blau.
Bitte and Danke, and that was it. Man. So
Well,
I
hold
could
on.
do-
You mean you couldn't say beer?
Of course, I could say beer. It's beer, right?
Beer.
Oh man,
So different.
you didn't see it in the photograph, but at the hotel they had a dark beer on tap, which I really took to. It was really good. Brewed a little bit further north than Hamburg, or than Neumünster even, a little closer to the coast, but really nice beer. But
Nearly
yeah,
the
we had
Danish
good beer,
border.
and of course in the clubhouse they have a complete kitchen, and the daughters or girlfriends, I guess, daughters of some of the racers in the club, kept us well fed the whole weekend with salads and pastas and bologneses and meatballs
Schnitzel.
and schnitzel and the whole deal, and beer.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I heard stories that there was a non-alcoholic beer, but I cannot substantiate those stories. But
It was full of that in the fridge. The car, was that okay after the flight?
Oh yeah, no problem at all. It's perfect. Yeah, there it is.
Good.
Because Krista very kindly donated me the car, right? After all the work that he put into it and all the effort and the time, he donated me the car. So I will have it here. I'm going to take it into Electric Dreams on Thursday, and maybe we'll do a video about it or something. But the car is with me right now.
Good. How was the flight? Okay.
Not bad. Long, and but fortunately, because it's 11 hours from Munich to San Francisco.
But you landed at nearly the same time as me.
Yeah. Krista is a friend who goes beyond the call of duty. My flight was leaving at 8:48 in the morning from Hamburg. We were up at 5 a.m. so that we could get there on time and be sure that that there was no problem. His flight didn't leave until I think 2:15 in the afternoon.
Yeah.
So he was at the airport from 6 in the morning until 2 in the afternoon before he actually could get on a plane.
Yeah.
And airports are bad enough on the securities, on the secure side of the airport where all the facilities are. But on the outside of the airport, there's very little in the way of facilities, So,
yeah.
So the poor guy had to spend a lot of time out there because he couldn't check his bags in until 2 hours.
No.
Yeah.
We didn't have any electronic to do anything.
Well, it sounds like you had a lot of fun, and thank you.
Oh
very
yeah,
much.
we had a great time.
Yeah,
It was great fun.
Yeah,
Thank you.
one nice cars.
Wonderful
nice
people, beautiful cars, a lovely, a nice track, a fantastic clubhouse facility. What more can you ask for?
Yeah, that's true.
Thank you for that report. And before
You're
we
welcome.
get to Jim's, we're going to go ahead and do the drawing for the GNS tire grinder. I have decided to do it very slightly differently than usual. The first thing I'm going to do is draw a random number between 1 and or 0 and 9. I'd be surprised if I get 0, so I'll have to redraw if I actually get a 0. That will be the number of times that I randomize the list. So the number I get from here is going to tell me how many clicks I'm doing on the actual list for the final winner. So you get to see, we'll see how many people don't win by how many times I click. Okay, so here we go. 6. So I'll go to the other tab, and I'm going to randomize the list 6 times. I usually say if you've won something before, you're not going to win this time. Maybe I'll do that. Maybe I won't. I don't know. But we have a couple people that have won previous contests, but most did not. So we got Four Eyes FPV, H Star Pro, Steve's, Lee, RB. I think that's just one of them. Courtney, RM Slot Cars, Michael Marty, Dennis James, Mike Eschen, Dewan, Jeremy, Ant, Nigel, and Monty. Monty got in under the wire just before I turned comments off. So I'm going to randomize this 6 times. Here we go. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this is the winner. 6, Courtney Smith.
Courtney
Hey!
Smith. Wow.
Courtney is the wiener, so I will send him a GNS tire grinder. Courtney, you can decide whether or not you want me to put it together or if you want to put it together. I'm going to splurge and make this a kit that comes with the hard shell case as well. So you'll get the full Monty, so to speak. And so, yeah, message me and we'll work all that out. So, yay, Courtney finally won something.
He was on for a minute, and then I think he's left. But that's
Yeah, you know.
wow.
He was in his car, I think.
If you get more important things to do, then that's fine. But now that's out of the way, and hopefully we have another contest in less time than before. I don't know. Maybe people aren't watching the ads. That's okay. I understand. Anywho, Jim, you ready to go?
Yep. I got a question for Dennis first. On that race, you said they run at 10.5 volts, and the cars are obviously quite heavy compared to what we're used to. So you mentioned the momentum, and they're not quite as fast. Did they do that so the cars look more scale in speed going around the track as opposed to these little rockets that we run?
I would think that's part of it. I think also they do that to try and limit the damage, because the cars are heavy, and at any greater speed they would be braking a lot. I mean, even a lot of the cars that were in the display cabinets around there, it was obvious that they had been raced, but the amount of damage on the cars was actually very, very slight. So I think that's a lot of it. They put so much work into the time, so much time into the bodies and so on. They just don't want to crash them. But yeah, I was kind of interested. The other thing that happened, of course, with 10.5 volts is it took me a lot of time to try and get my controller to work properly. And I don't know that I ever did. I eventually used one of Krista's controllers, which was more set up for those conditions. But I found the bottom end of my controller so dead that I could hardly drive the car at times. You go into a turn, you hit the brakes, you come back on the throttle, nothing happens. Nothing happens. You squeeze, and you squeeze, nothing happens. And then all of a sudden you start to go. And I can't drive like that. I need to feel it. So eventually, I had everything turned up to maximum. And eventually on my true speed, I started shortening the trigger stroke. And that was about the only way that I managed to get decent performance. And even then, I was still better with the ACD Pro that Krista loaned me.
Yeah. One last question for Dennis. Is that type of racing with that realism, and is that something that is in that area and there's other clubs, or is that kind of a unique club to Germany in general?
No, that's very much the way that a lot of racing goes on in Germany. Krista will tell you.
Yeah, I think that mostly clubs race like this. Some clubs have foam tires, but modern sports cars, GT3, GT2 cars and prototypes, but they are not so many drivers as in the SC classes that we drove.
So, I mean, we had guys there from Austria, from the eastern parts of Germany, from all over Germany, and from Sweden. Apart from Krista, there were other Swedish drivers there. So it's a very popular format in Europe.
Yeah, it is.
Sounds good. Thanks. Well, I do have a really quick club corner on a future race, and I'm always looking for new stuff. And I found this on YouTube, East Bay, meaning East Bay in the San Francisco Bay Area. And it's a club that I think I've seen it once or twice before, but never really thought about it. So I'm going to go down and race with these guys on Saturday. Not that I don't have enough going on, and do some videos and things like that. So we'll have some club corner from this next week. But this is their track from last year. And obviously, see there, it's a digital track. It's 170 feet of track, I think it was. And they take it down each year. And it's a summer through fall. So they're almost done. They'll be racing in, I think he said the Halloween race will be their last race, and they'll be done until spring. They'll take it down. And this is their track this year. So different layout. Looks a little simpler, but it's definitely a different layout. And so I'm going to go down and have some fun. I've raced digital maybe twice in my life, and we'll see how it goes. It's a Carrera track. I don't know what they race, whether they have, I don't see any formal racing on their website. So it may be just get together type thing, but it's 10 to 2 on Saturday. So I'm going to head down there and see what happens.
Cool.
I've seen them racing some of that 124 cars.
Yeah.
From
Well,
Carrera, digital one.
On one of their videos, I see about 8 cars out there. They must be using, how many cars can you run a
Ghost.
Carrera?
Yeah, so there's at least, so if there's 8 cars, then 2 of them are ghost cars. So it's
Okay, because I've seen, I think, more than 8 at one time, and I've seen 24 scale and 32nd scale on the track at the same time. Must be just practicing or whatever. So I have no idea what to expect. So we'll see.
Yeah, and unless they are, yeah, they would have to be Oxygen or Scorpius for it to be more than 6 driver cars.
I can tell they're not using Carrera controllers, so I'm not sure exactly what they're running.
They might. I'll have to look at some of the videos, but they might be using True Speed or Ramjet or Frankenstock controllers.
I think it's it's a Parma-like looking handle, so it's not a Carrera handle. So I don't know what it is, but yeah, we'll see. Good. Gonna head down there Saturday and find out.
Cool beans. Looking forward to that. Anybody else got any club corner stuff they want to talk about? If not, the floor is open as long as it's slot car related. Question, show and tell, whatever you got. Let's do it. Come on. Come on. What's up?
Okay, I have one. I have a question. Hang on the slotting plus. Oh, am I on screen? Okay, never mind. On the slotting plus Reynard, it has the plastic triangle kind of pod that's attached to the chassis right there. Do you guys leave that attached like that, or do you separate it and then use the little? They have like a little connector that goes between these 2 holes that also holds it up. I'm not sure what to do with this chassis. I got it really cheap, so I was just trying to play around with it. Does anybody have any experience with it?
Yeah, I have one, but I haven't really played with it a lot, and mine's still solid at that point.
Box stock. Okay.
Yeah, I don't recall that I actually had a piece that goes over that, but maybe I did.
Well, it's like a little bridge that goes
little
from
bridge,
the chassis
yeah.
to the pod, and you take that out, and then all of a sudden I did get flexibility and movement out of it, but I thought it just seems like a weird design.
How's the back end of the pod connected?
So the back end of the pod has 2 screws that go into a piece that screws.
You lift it up. We can't see it.
Hold it up. Hold it up.
Hang on.
Okay, so like a regular pod.
It's like a regular pod. You can see it's cut out, and then it's got a bridge over the back here that holds this piece to this piece, and so you get flexibility out of it and a little float. But I just thought that was kind of weird that it's still connected there, but they also have a bridge.
All right, so I do have some of those slotting plus cars. So I have 2 of them, and on one of them I cut the pod and put the bridge across, and that's the one I run on wood. The other one I left it alone, just like how you have it, and that's the one I run on plastic. So, or you could do either vice versa. I mean, it kind of depends how the car is driving.
Did you notice any difference?
So the unfortunate part, the unfortunate part is that I didn't use the same tires, and I should have used the same tires to actually test. So Slotting Plus kind of gave you that option of what you wanted to do, plastic or wood. But I mean, it runs good. I mean, it runs good. I mean, I think the way you have it set up right now, I mean, try it and see how the chassis runs.
Yeah. I just usually come here first to see what the experts say, and before I start tearing it apart and have to buy a new chassis. That's happened a few times.
Yeah, they're actually good cars. I mean, it runs good.
All right.
All right. Hey, Courtney, did you know you won? You won the GNS tire grinder. Woohoo! So you just need to let me know if you want to build it yourself or you want me to build it for you.
Muted.
Yeah. There you go.
If you don't mind, I would love for you to build it for me.
Sure thing. I actually like building them, so not a problem. All right, and then
I'm so excited.
Well, message me your address so I can ship it to you when I'm done.
All right. All right.
All right.
Well, thank you so much. I never win anything. Dang it! I'm
Now
gonna
you
play the
have.
lottery tonight for sure.
Yeah, go.
Except proxy races, right?
You spent all your luck on
Greg,
on
I
the
want you
tire
to
grinder.
sign.
You want me to sign it?
Greg, I want you to sign the bottom of it.
Will that make it worth more or worth less?
Yeah, worth less. All right, I'll put some squiggles.
Invaluable. All right.
All right, Scott, you got your hand up. What would you like to talk about?
Hi guys. Well, I wouldn't do it other than the fact that you look like you have folks talk. But so this is a tale of disaster because I'm very not an expert in much of these things. But one of the things I do, I've got lots of old cars. I've shown you some of them before. In the middle of having my own little rally, so I dug out some old SCX cars. And one of the things with those old motors, particularly if you put some lubrication in them past, is they get a bit gunky. And the old trick for getting them going was, you stick them on the lane and you pull the throttle full and they cough and they splutter and they whirl and the little plumes of smoke come out of the motor. And eventually it coughs and it goes. So I have a motor which was like that. So I tried it on the polycar track, the polycar transformer. There must be some kind of software in there that cuts the power if it senses the motor is sort of struggling. So I dug out a Carrera Street and an old Carrera wall wart and plugged that in because it's just delivering whatever it is, 14 volts, whether you want it or not. So I did that, but then again, struggle, smoke, and keep going. I thought, it's taking a long time. Keep going, and eventually, bang, it blew. Well, I thought something had gone, and I thought, is it the Carrera wall wart or not? So instinctively, but stupidly, I picked the car up and put it back on the polycar just to see if it would work. And I pulled the polycar throttle, and there was a loud clicking noise. And if I can work out how to share my screen, so it's that one. When I opened it up, I had managed to. This is the way the other side, the capacitor on the other side, had an explosive incident, and so I thought I'm not going to be fixing that. So that was a bit unfortunate, to put it mildly. Then I thought, well, what am I going to do? I'm in the middle of having this slot rally I want to carry on. I've got I've got the polycar tracker. What can I do? And I remembered that my eldest son, many years ago, when I was in theory going to build a routed track, he bought me two things: a router and a power supply, which I had never used. Now, given what I've just told you about how I managed to blow up a Carrera transformer and the polycar transformer, you can understand why I was a bit reticent about even switching this thing on. I mean, I literally had never switched it. So I plugged it in. This is when I was happy that it was working. Thought, tried to look, well, I can adjust the voltage and I can adjust the current. But, what am I to do? I think it's a reasonably sophisticated thing in the sense that you can control both. Anyway, what I discovered was if I set the voltage, then it just supplies, it keeps the voltage constant and it's really the current depending. So I got to do that, and I used, slightly out of the picture there, the crocodile clips. Go on to, they're not really in here. I bought these new connectors for my old Parmas. So these, originally I bought ones that were just this little, there's a black triangle with the green bits, with a jack plug on the end. It went straight in, but that was very short. And I found somebody, in fact, Greg, you suggested it, thank you, a couple of weeks ago, I think, and some were selling some with a little cable, which is perfect. So I hooked up the power ones and got that going. So I managed to get everything back to normal, and it's great. It's a lovely little thing, and I haven't blown anything else up. But I learned my lesson. I didn't put that particular SCX car back on the track.
So,
I'm now
Scott, how many years did you work for Lucas?
John, that reminds. Actually, you may remember. Early in my career, I worked for a company which was at the time called Austin Rover. You guys will know them because they launched Sterling, which was the sort of Rover, the Roverized version of Honda. And I remember that one of the American dealers that was signed up said, there better not be Lucas visible on any of those components. Otherwise, it's no good for anything other than a boat anchor. So that was.
well, that's why you folks like warm beer in the UK. You all have Lucas refrigerators.
We're a little more.
Prince of Darkness.
I'm not a beer drinker, but I'm reliably informed that beer shouldn't be freezing. So that's. Anyway, how do I unshare my screen? There we go. Stop.
I can do it for you. All
There
right,
we go. So I was just a little. You guys are all such experts on stuff. I'll tell you how I did.
I'm curious about that SCX car now. What you should do is put the output of the power supply straight to the braids of the car rather than going through the polycar power thing or your controller, and then just start upping the voltage and the amperage until it stops spluttering. And if it never stops spluttering, then toss it in the garbage. But at least that way, you're not going to destroy a power supply or a controller or anything.
Yeah, I've only once has it not worked, and that was on another RX, an RX 41. This is an RX 81, the twin output one. So I don't know what this car probably hasn't been run.
What you really need to do is to get yourself some electrical contact cleaner and spray the motor out before you do any of this kind of rubbish.
I did.
You did that.
I had a can of it and I gave it a quick squirt thing because when it wasn't working at first, I must have held it. It was smoking away for, I'm going to say 2 minutes. I didn't put a clock on it, but it was smoking away for. And I thought,
are you, Scott? Are you sure it wasn't a can of ether?
And
no
then he put
visible flames. There was no visible flames.
All right, so we learned from Scott what not to do. And we look forward to that story on your next Utter Slot podcast. All right, but the floor is still open and we've got 5 more minutes to waste. Anybody else got anything they want to follow up on, ask more questions about, ask a new question about?
I got one of those new Scale Auto Porsche 963, so it wasn't on the call last week, so I didn't show it off. Let me go get it.
Yeah.
While Dennis is doing that, can I say that Greg and I think Jim, I watched a lot of the live feed from Electric Dreams the other week, mostly on catch up. What a great event, and thank you for you guys doing those kind of back, particularly Jim, you doing the behind the scenes interviews things. It was great to be somewhat part of it. It looked a fantastic weekend.
Yeah, him and Travis.
Now, Robin, to your Batman, Scott, wasn't really interested in watching that, was he? Your partner on.
No, although he then revealed that he had watched quite a lot of it, so I think.
Every time he started talking about the event, I'm like, so did you watch it or not? Because it sounds like you watched it.
I think, yeah. He just wants to be down with the cool kids, but really he's a bit of a geek.
Hey, let's be honest. None of us were down with the cool kids, okay?
We were never cool kids. All right, Dennis is back. Here we go.
Couldn't find it.
Oh no!
Couldn't find it. Here we go.
The tale of the lost Porsche.
Here we go. Let me put the other camera in. It'll be quick. go that way.
You've got a WeatherTech liveried already. Wow.
I made the WeatherTech livery. There we go. So this is the new Scale Auto, right? With all the new parts, the new 12-degree pod that they're using for the hypercars, all the whatever their latest concepts are in terms of chassis, these super lightweight bodies. And I looked at this and I thought, now what am I going to do for a livery? Because the first thing is that the Penske livery with all the stripes is amazingly difficult to do, as Gio told us the last time. So I was looking through them and I actually found online a little graphic that gave basically a side view and a top view of the car, but not as photographs, as a graphic, as a drawing. And it became actually very easy just to copy that, put it into a JPEG, scale it to where I needed it, print it on some very thin printable, inkjet printable self-stick vinyl that I have, and cut it out and stick it on. And that's how it went. I'm sure Gia is going to tell me that the wheel inserts are the wrong color, because they should be black, but I prefer them this color. So that's the car. I've tried it. It runs pretty well. It's very light, so it needs a little bit more work still, tuning wise. It's still on its original tires, which are I suppose the latest PS25s or whatever that Scale Auto are using, but I found them not quite grippy enough for the way the car is at the moment. But it's nice. So that's me.
Good job. So did you did you straighten the chassis?
Nope, it's still exactly. I just built it the way it was, and the chassis didn't look too. It looked pretty flat to me. It may not be perfect, but I haven't checked it. I didn't have the time. I was trying to get it done so that I could at least take it into Electric Dreams and show it before I went overseas. So it basically got done in a bit of a rush.
Not bad at all.
Yeah, it looks great.
Thank you.
And those are inkjet on printable vinyl.
Inkjet on printable vinyl.
You muted yourself on accident. Printable vinyl decals or something. You're still muted. You're muted.
God, inkjet on printable vinyl. Got it out at last.
Are they sticky back, or is it just like regular vinyl that just kind of sticks to things?
It has an adhesive backing. Yeah, so it's self-stick.
Very cool.
And very thin. I mean, mostly those things are usually they look a little too thick when you put them on the car, but these ones are not bad. The white is not perfectly white by comparison to the backing.
Brand name.
Yeah, I'll have to think of it. It's the pieces are upstairs. Something like Ava, AIVA, Avia.
Avery?
Not Avery. No.
Okay.
It's a different name.
See if we can find it.
I would have to go. I'll bet you my best way of finding it will be to go onto Amazon where I bought it and go back to my original order.
Limia, Limia.
No.
No? That's what I'm coming up with on Amazon. Oh wait, there it is. Limia's Care printable vinyl sticker paper. Okay. Let me share my screen so you know why I'm so confused.
That's it.
Yeah,
That's
so the
it.
product name starts with Limia, but it's actually Ava Paper Group.
That's it. Ava Paper Group. That's exactly the one.
Yeah, it looks like
Exactly the one.
about $1 a sheet. The more sheets you get, the cheaper it gets.
Yeah. I bought the small pack. I bought, I think, the 15 pack. And the next time I buy it, I will buy more because it works very, very well in standard.
100 microns.
100 microns is kind of thin, right? It's a tenth of a
Hey,
millimeter.
maybe we can use that for the 935.
It doesn't bend as well, even with a little bit of heat application, as you might think. So be a little worried about that. Anywhere where it's got to go down into any kind of deep depression or anything like that.
Not to worry about it, guys. I am not putting vinyl stickers on the car. Carry on.
Not have even asked.
Well, I did it because I didn't really have the time for anything else. But I think what I may still do, now that I see how well it worked, is to take that same file that I have, the graphics, and print it onto some decal paper and actually make decals from it. That'll probably work a lot better because some of them I can then print on clear and rather than on white.
All right. On that note, we're going to end the live stream. But as always, we'll keep chatting and everybody wave bye until next week. Bye.
You guys, thank you. I've got to leave, so I'll see you next week.